remember when I was a small child in elementary school, and perhaps this is a similar situation that happened to yourself, speaking with schoolmates and classmates and friends of mine and comparing our school teachers. And really there's only two categories that applied. Our teachers were either nice or they were mean. And they were all-encompassing descriptions. Mean wasn't so much that they called us names and kicked little puppies on the street corner, but more or less that they were pretty strict, perhaps a disciplinarian, had the image of being unfriendly, perhaps. And the nice teachers were the friendly ones, the outgoing, the ones that told the funny stories and did all the cool things during class, and so on and so forth. Pretty simple categories. Simple so that we could understand as 6, 7, or 8-year-olds do. But as we grew older, we kept doing that. Perhaps the categories broadened a little bit. The definitions broadened or were more specific, but there's more categories that we put people in. And perhaps that kept us from forming friendships or working with other people. Perhaps that led to us seeking those relationships, whether socially or in school or later on in work or wherever. And one of the things that we're reminded so often in our world today is the phrase, "Don't judge me until you've had a chance to get to know me." And it's funny, as we've pretty much ingrained in ourselves something totally different than that in a very innocent way at a very young age. Don't judge me until you get to know me. It's actually a pretty good way of life, something for us to keep in mind as we go about our lives and our families and friendships and in careers. Not to rush to judgment on another person. But it's also something we need to apply in our relationship with God. Because I think that many people do just that. For whatever reason, and however it happened, we've come up with this image of God that is unattainable at best, or perhaps at worst. A God who is there to judge, a God who is there to punish, a God that we're meant to fear. And not fear in the old traditional sense of being in awe, as our language has changed, being in awe of his power and what he can do, but being afraid of being harmed by him. So we seek to placate him, or to hide or deny ourselves that aspect of our lives because we don't want to deal with someone who judges or condemns or hurts. During the season of Advent, we've been reminded in a very powerful way by our scripture readings that we need to perhaps not judge until we get to know our God. And we need to recognize the fact that that's exactly what it's about. This whole religion and faith thing, the whole thing from the Catholic perspective of God, is getting to know God. Getting to know who he is. We're told right at the very beginning of the Catechism of the Catholic Church that our desire for God is written within the human heart. St. Augustine, our hearts are restless, O Lord, until they rest with you. We are made in God's image and likeness, we're told in the first book of the Scriptures, the book of Genesis. And our fulfillment and our identity is only found when we're in that connection to God. And so we're told that this desire has been written into our heart because we are created by God and for God. And we're told in the scriptures, in the Catechism, that this is because of his love for us. And with this love comes a desire as well. As much as we seek to desire God, we desire beauty and goodness. We desire to know. We desire peace and joy and fulfillment. God desires us. the Scriptures. One of the most beautiful images we hear in the Gospels, we just heard recently in the church's reading, not only at Christ the King a few weeks ago, but we've heard it recently in our daily Mass, of the Good Shepherd. Jesus Christ going after the lost one lamb, the one sheep who strayed, and going out searching and bringing that one lamb back to the flock. And the Lord telling us that there's more rejoicing in heaven over the return of that one lost sheep than there is for the 99 who stayed. All of heaven is then complete when that 100 are gathered together again. There's much joy in that. So we're reminded of that even in our hurts, in our need for healing, and sometimes how we've strayed, that the Lord desires nothing else than for us to be in relationship with Him. And there's no greater joy for the Lord than when we seek Him ourselves. We seek to learn who He is. We seek to commune with the God who created the heavens and the earth, with the God who is perfection. And because of His great love for us, helps us to overcome our human failings, helps us work to do better. And while we're in that process of healing, in conversion as the church calls it, we also continue on His mission of making His love and desire known to all people. Even while we're being works in progress, we still have a role, a leadership role in being His disciples in our world. We're being reminded during this season of Lent, particularly this week, of just how good our God is. On Monday, the prophet Isaiah, what a beautiful, beautiful writings and poetry in the Psalms that we hear from that Old Testament book. Monday, we were told that this God with divine recompense, He comes to save you. Yesterday, we were told by the prophet, give comfort to my people, says your God. Like a shepherd, there it is, like a shepherd, He feeds His flock. In His arms, He gathers the lambs. And today at Mass, we heard that the Lord is the eternal God. He does not grow faint, nor grow weary. He gives strength to the fainting. For the weak, He makes vigor abound. In Jesus' own words in our gospel today, come to me, all you who labor and are burdened, and I will give you rest. Those aren't the words of a vengeful God. Those aren't the words of a God who judges, who hates, who's seeking to punish us, who's seeking to show us who's in charge, to overpower us. Those are the words of a God who loves us more than we can ever imagine. In the Navari scripture commentary on this reading from the Gospel of Matthew, they have a quote from Pope Paul VI in the homily he gave on the Feast of Corpus Christi. And Paul VI writes that the Lord's, quote, attitude towards us is one of invitation, knowledge, and compassion. Indeed, it is one of offering, promise, friendship, goodness, remedy for our ailments, close quote. My friends, everything about us, our Catholic family of faith, everything about this God, our church that God has established, is meant to help us respond to the Lord's desire for us. It's meant to help us to learn who we are at the very core of our being as His children, as the ones loved with a perfect love more than we can ever possibly imagine. A love so perfect He can't help but to forgive us as we seek Him, as we seek to be healed of our selfishness and self-centeredness, of our hurts and the hurts that we've perhaps caused others. The challenge of this love is how will we respond? Will we accept the Lord's love in our lives? And in doing so, carry His message of mercy and love and forgiveness to others. To let others know of His invitation to all of us to all of humanity, all those made in his image and likeness. So we have the family of faith that gathers daily, more frequently weekly, at the Eucharist to pray together, to worship this God who gives us so much. We gather together to be nourished by his word, to be nourished by his very body and blood. He gives himself completely to us. We're given the sacraments to help us in those key moments in our lives to remain connected to the Lord, the moments of great joy and those moments of great sadness in loss. We have a rich treasury of devotions and ways of praying and expressing ourselves and of helping us focus on this mystery of God and drawing us deeper into the mystery of who God is. We have the benefit of hundreds of years of writings by men and women who strove to live this relationship with God, who strove to seek to be in union with the perfect being despite their imperfections. And we have the benefit of their experiences that help encourage us to move us along as well. So it lays before us, a challenge, if you will, is at our feet. How will we respond to this invitation? How will we seek to know our God, to feed this desire that we have for him, so that we may continue to make his love and presence known? We may continue, despite our brokenness, we may continue to bring his light into all those places in our world where darkness seems to rule.